Introduction. This almost never happened.
This audiobook grew out of our podcast, Talking Sopranos, which started airing in April of 2020 and quickly found a great following of wonderful, dedicated fans. They've been enormously supportive of us from day one, actually, from before day one.
Because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here now.
See, The Sopranos had been off the air for nearly 15 years now, but the fascination with the show has never ebbed. In fact, there seem to be more people watching it now than when it originally aired. The support of the fans, both those who are watching it again and those who are discovering it for the first time, has been fantastic.
We started noticing it around the time we were celebrating the 20th anniversary of the show's premiere, early in 2019. I was working on a pilot in New York that March and shooting a scene in Central Park when a young man, maybe all of 20 years old, walking through the park with his father, politely approached me. He said they were from Scotland, visiting the city for the first time, and were so excited to see a cast member from their favorite show. Suddenly, the young man rolled up his pant leg and revealed a tattoo of my face on his calf. He explained that he had discovered the show in the past year, and it had quickly become a huge part of his life, to the point where he felt the need to have one of the show's main characters permanently etched into his flesh. It gave us both pause. What the heck was going on out there?
It was about that time we both entered the wild, wild wilderness of social media via Instagram and Facebook. Before long, it became evident to us that The Sopranos had found an entire new flock of passionate followers. We found tons of fan pages, meme pages, Soprano fashion pages, Soprano food pages, Sopranos music pages, you name it. I mean, it was obvious that social media was the domain of the young, and these teens, 20-somethings and 30-somethings, were now streaming The Sopranos on their iPhones and Androids.
We'd known for a long time that we had legions of loyal fans, most of them close to our own age, give or take a decade or two. But the fact that we were being taken up by a whole new demographic gave us an idea. Not many shows have the ability to be passed down to a younger generation that embraces it as wholeheartedly as their parents did. And so we wondered, what if we tried to meet these newfound devotees on their own turf? The podcast.
The two of us had worked together on a ton of projects, both Sopranos related and otherwise. I mean, we did a movie called Nicky Deuce, based on a book by me. The movie The Hungry Ghost, written and directed by Michael, which I starred in, and a number of other films.
We also did a stage show along with Vinny Pastore, you know him as Big Pussy, called Conversations with the Sopranos, which we toured around the country and as far away as Australia. And we're very close friends in real life. When one of us gets to go on vacation, the other's the first one to get a call to come along and bring the family.
So when the idea came up to do a podcast in which two buddies would sit down and chat, rewatch all 86 episodes of The Sopranos and bring on all the other cast members, directors, producers, writers, everybody, from the sound guy to series creator David Chase, it seemed like a natural. It was announced, we did a whirlwind press tour, and we're ready to go into the studio to record together starting March 25th.
And then COVID hit.
On March 13th, the day a national emergency was declared, the day the world stopped turning for all of us, Michael was stuck in California, sick as a dog. Later, we realized he and his wife probably had come down with COVID. I was holed up with my family in my apartment in New York, depressed as hell. The thought of doing the podcast remotely never occurred to us. I mean, we didn't even know it was possible. None of us had even heard of Zoom yet.
And besides, to be perfectly honest, we didn't think we should do it anymore either. We thought doing a podcast in the midst of all this tragedy was totally tone deaf. After all, who could possibly want to hear us talk about a TV show with all the suffering that was going on in the world?
But then we started hearing from fans, both the older generation who watched the show back in the day and the legion of new young followers. We're stuck at home, they told us. We're sheltering in place like we're supposed to. We're binge-watching The Sopranos. We're waiting for the podcast. We want you to watch it with us.
Where the hell are you?
And so, reluctantly, we started talking to our producers about trying to do the podcast from our homes. We had a crash course in virtual programming, in creating home studios, in setting up our lights and mics and backgrounds. I mean, we didn't even have time to talk about what the hell we were going to do once the tape started rolling. On March 30th, we just jumped into the deep end and recorded our first show.